Hi everyone! Today we will be learning about dividing rational numbers with fractions. In the past we've looked at multiplication of rational numbers with decimals and fractions, but for this lesson you will need the information from multiplying rational numbers when we are using fractions, and you will also need how to divide fraction by fraction like we did at the start of the year. So our first example that we are going to look at today includes an example that looks like this. We have 4/3 divided by 2/5. Okay. All right, so as we're dividing fractions by fractions, it's important for us to remember that we're going to use the reciprocal, and we need to find the inverse of 2/5. So we keep our first number as 4/3, which already happens to be an improper fraction, so that's nice. We didn't need to make that an improper fraction. So we have 4/3. We're going to keep this one. We're going to change our symbol. So our symbol becomes, instead of division, we're now going to use multiplication because we're going to multiply by the inverse or the flip of 2/5. So keep it, change it, and flip it, which becomes 5/2. And then you just multiply straight across like we did in our last lesson. So 4 times 5 is 20, and 3 times 2 is 6, and then we just reduce down. So our answer that we have is 20 divided by 6, and we just need to reduce now, and 6 can go into 20 about 3 times, which gives us 18. And that's 2 6 left over, or 3 1/3 if we reduce it all the way down. So the biggest thing that you're learning today is implementing the keep, change, flip. And then you just apply multiplication straight across. Let's go ahead and look at another example. This time I'm going to have you do it where there is a negative in there. So this was a positive times a positive, so we ended with a positive. Now we're going to look at what happens when we have a negative in there. So 6/5 divided by -4/3. Again, this one's nice because it's already improper fractions, so we didn't have to worry about using mixed numbers here. So first thing we want to do is we want to keep that first number the same. So we're going to keep 6/5. We want that one to stay the same. We're going to change from division into multiplication, and then we're going to use the reciprocal or the flip of 4/3, and we're going to have 3/4 -3/4. Now we're ready to just multiply straight across, so we're going to keep this negative sign with either the top or the bottom. Usually we just keep it right with the top there. So we have 6 times -3, which gives us -18, and 5 times 4 is 20. So now what we're going to do is we're going to simplify this down. We can reduce it in half. 2 goes into both of these. So a common factor is 2. We can divide by 2/2. 18 divided by 2 is 9, or -18 divided by 2 is 9. And 20 divided by 2 is 10. So our answer is -9/10. So again, you just apply your normal rules of multiplication when there is a negative sign there. Okay, let's look at another example. This time I want to give you one that happens to have some mixed numbers, so you can see that we have to convert them to improper fractions first. So in this problem, we have 3 1/4, and we're dividing that by -1 1/8. All right, so our first step is going to be to convert this problem into an improper fraction. So let's talk about converting here. So multiply here, add here. So 12 and 13. So this is really 13/4. And our next problem that we're looking at, multiply here, add here. So 8 9s, we have -9/8. We're dividing that. Now we're ready for keep, change, and flip. So now we're ready to take our numbers that we've put into improper fractions, and we are ready to keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep that first one, which is 13/4. Keep it. We're going to change to multiplication, and we're going to flip. So instead of -9/8, we're now going to have 8/9, and it's a negative fraction. So we're going to keep that negative sign there. I have 13 times 8. So I need to find 13 times 8. It's 24. Carry the 2. 8, 9, 10. That is 104, and it was negative. And 4 times 9 is 36. So now I am ready to divide. 104 divided by 36. All right, so let's see here. It can go in 2 times, -2 times with 8 9ths left over. So again, the only difference in this problem here was that we had to first convert to improper fractions, and then we could do keep, change, flip, and then reduce. So we can do one more problem together before we do our try-its, because I would like to do one where maybe it's a negative times a negative. So let's look at example D. Example D. Okay, this one is what they call a complex fraction. So we're gonna try this problem here. Okay, so we have -10/9 divided by -1/6 plus 1. So in this problem, you see that the division sign happens to be written like this. So 1, we want to remember that does mean division. Okay, so that's the first thing. And we also have multiple operations going on in this problem. So our job is going to be to start with division. So let's go ahead and rewrite this a little bit differently so that it makes more sense to us. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this. That's our first step. So instead, I have -10/9 divided by -1/6 plus 1. I put this in parentheses together, so that way we could do that part because it was down below. You can't divide this top part without knowing what it's actually being divided by. So we need to figure that part out first. So that's why it's in the parentheses. So we're going to figure this part out. Again, this is just one more step so that way we can apply our learning a little bit further. So we have negative 10 over 9, and this is really like that. When we have a whole number, we can just put a 1 underneath it. And then we'll add. We need to make this really 6 over 6 because we need, when we're adding fractions, they need to have the same the same denominator. So we have negative 1, and we add that to 6, which is the same thing as 5. And 6 plus 6, we just move that over because it's a common denominator. So now the problem that we're working with is negative 10 divided by 5, 6. We're ready to apply keep, change, flip. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep it, change it, and flip it. So negative 10 over 9 times 6 over 5. And we get negative 60 because 10 times 6, or negative times 6, is 60. And 9 times 5 is 45. Or our final answer that we get when we reduce this down is negative 4, because we can reduce it by 15, and that gives us negative 4 over 3. If this problem right here is crazy for you and you're like, whoa, I have no idea what Miss Englander just did, that's okay. They call these ones complex fractions. You probably won't see these very often, so you can always go back and hit play again and just watch it step by step. But the biggest thing to remember is that you needed to figure out this first, so that way you know what to divide by. Otherwise, you have all the tools and the strategies to be able to solve the rest of this problem. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the page now so that way you are able to do your try-its. So let's go ahead and do some try-its. All right, try-it number 1. This is where I will put in a negative times a negative, just so that way you have that experience. Okay, so we have try-it number 1 is negative 6 over 5 divided by negative 1 over 2. There's that problem. And then try-it number 2 for you is negative 1/3 divided by 2 and 2/3. All right, go ahead and solve both of those. Hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you're ready, come on back. All right, so we're going to keep negative 6 over 5. We're going to change to multiplication. And then we're going to flip so that way we can multiply by the inverse. Negative 6 times negative 2, or a negative times a negative, gives us a positive. So 6 times 2 is 12. And 5 times 1 is 5. 12 divided by 5, that can go 2. That gives us 10 with 2/5 left over. So your answer should be 2 and 2/5. 2 and 2/5. All right, and then our last problem for today. Again, we need to make an improper fraction first. So 3 times 2 is 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 over 3. So we have negative 1/3 divided by 8 over 3. Again, we're going to keep it. Negative 1/3. Change it and flip it so that we can just multiply straight across. So we have negative 1 times 3, which gives us negative 3, and 3 times 8, which is 24. I know that 3 can go into 24, so I'm going to reduce this by dividing by 3 over 3, which gives me negative 1 over 8. There we go. There's my fractions. How did you do on both of these? All right, it is your turn now to go ahead and answer your essential question. How do we divide fractions? Or how do we divide rational numbers with fractions? That's what I'm trying to say. Go ahead and put your level of understanding out to the side. And then when you are finished, you may come on back to the Google Meet and ask for help, or you can go on and do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort, and make it a great day.